Hello, everybody. I am Jeff, and this is my wife, Christine. And together, we are Inspired Beyond. We are intuitive guides who support transformation through our coaching practice, which you can learn more about at inspiredbeyond.com. We are also your hosts for this Inspired Beyond podcast.
Our mission is to create space for conscious conversations with a diverse range of guests, exploring real life experiences, powerful healing modalities, and transformational ideas that support empowered living, collaboration, and community. Your engagement truly shapes this podcast as we evolve together. So be sure to subscribe, like the podcasts that resonate with you, and say hello in the comments. Every connection helps us spread more inspiration.
All right, let's dive in, everybody. Enjoy this next podcast. Today's conversation, we're focusing on entrepreneurs, which we suspect many of you watching or listening already are, or perhaps you're curious about moving in that direction. But even if you don't see yourself as an entrepreneur, we invite you to stay with us because at its core, today's topic is really about how we create and manage our lives. The principles of joy and creativity and alignment apply whether you're running your own business, leading a team, raising a family, or navigating personal growth. So, wherever you are on your journey, this episode's for you.
We are excited to welcome Laura West on the podcast today for a conversation. She's a business owner of Joyful Business. I've had the privilege of getting to know Laura personally about 3 months ago at an event. It was just so amazing to connect with you, Laura. Her gifts, expertise, and offerings are so valuable for the time that we're in, and especially for anyone who's an entrepreneur of any kind. Laura calls herself a business alchemy coach, intuitive guide, and quantum human design specialist. She is a go-to guide for highly attuned entrepreneurs who want more than just strategy. They want soul-aligned success that feels alive, expansive, and deeply true. Laura was a former corporate marketing exec. About 20 years ago, she left the corporate world and embarked on becoming an entrepreneur herself. In her business, she blends practical business coaching with energy attunement, nervous system wisdom, and a whole lot of creative magic. And who doesn't want a bit of magic and sparkle in their lives? Yeah, her clients don't just grow businesses, they become the version of themselves their purpose has been waiting for. I love that. So, over the past 20 years, she's helped thousands of heart led leaders ignite their big yes, birth meaningful work into the world, and stop shape shifting to fit into someone else's formula. Hear to that. So, through her signature dream weaving framework, Laura helps visionaries create businesses that are not only profitable, but vibrationally aligned to who they really are. She believes in joy as a business strategy, creativity as a portal to clarity, and that her most magnetic self is the one that's already whispering inside of us.
Welcome, Laura. So we're very
Thank
glad you're
you.
here. Yes, it's very exciting. What first inspired you to create Joyful Business, and how did that joy become your guiding principle in business?
Well, first of all, I just want to say thank you for having me here. I'm loving the two of you and your energy and the passion that you have for what you do. Yes, joyful business. So I was in corporate, and back in the 90s, we were bought out and merged 6 times in 5 years. That will decimate your joy really fast. And so it was a super tough time. And going through things like that, I saw people around me. I had my own issues. I saw people whose stress levels were so high, their teeth became loose, relationships, were on the rocks. I was really burned out and really lost my joy and my passion. And if you're a marketing person, it's kind of hard to be creative when you've lost your joy and passion. And I just remember thinking there has to be a reason, like joy has to matter. And then when I hired a coach and realized this is my path and started my own business, I kept, with this question and kept thinking joy has to matter. And then a colleague, a good friend of mine actually, sent me an article, and it was a study that Barbara Fredrickson had done, who's one of the pioneers of positive psychology. And she did a study around joy in business. And oh my gosh, it was exactly telling me exactly what I knew already. But it was when you are in your joy, and you're doing your work, it's like you're more creative, right? You're more willing to take a risk. You are happier and you stay longer, so you're loyal. And just everything was like what we know is, when you show up in your joy, you've got a little zip in your step, and it's so much easier to talk to people, right? And get things done. It's like I always say that joy is the number one productivity tool, because it's like when you feel good, things just flow.
Oh, I love that.
It seems that joy is a highly underrated word.
We know it like on one level, right? But then, we squeeze the life out of it with everything else that we're doing. And so we forget that actually it really does matter to the quality of our life, and it matters to the quality of our creative ideas.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I can so relate to what you went through because I'm a corporate gal and I stayed a lot longer than you did. But I always sort of kind of compartmentalize. This is work, and then joy is in my personal life. But I love how you're bringing this into the business and what you do. And an entrepreneur in my mind is not just a business. It's a creative endeavor. Whatever you're doing, it's a creative birthing of something. Do you
It
agree?
is. It is. I remember back when I first started, and I was married to the father of my kids, and he was a banker. And we'd go to the Christmas parties, and people would be like, "Oh, what are you up to in the world?" And I'm like, "Oh, I have a company. I'm a coach called Joyful Business." And they would just look at me, 20 years ago, 25 years ago, they would look at me like, "Joy in business? Like, what does that have to do with anything?" And now people are like craving it. It's like the time has finally come where people are like, I can't do this any other way. I need to have more joy. I need to enjoy what I'm doing, having meaning, feeling like I'm making a contribution, just having enjoyment in our day.
I love that, Laura. We can recognize that there's massive cultural changes going on right now, and there's a breakdown of old models, whether it's in the business world or anywhere. And I keep talking about that because I know it's so
Mhm.
big, right?
Yeah.
So how has joyful business evolved, or how is it evolving to help your clients meet these rapidly changing times?
Well, a couple of things. I've been doing this for 25 years, so I have seen changes that have happened and evolved. We had that last big recession. We've had the technology come in and totally change the coaching world in particular, but a lot of us. Um, so part of what I do is practice deep listening.
Mhm.
And deep listening is, yes, you're listening to what your clients are saying, but it's a practice, like you don't just hear it and move on. And so about 7 or 8 years ago, I was listening deeply and realized that my clients had these dreams and these visions for doing their soul work. But then they would say, "Oh my gosh, I can't wait to fill in the blank, write the book, do the podcast, create this product, do this program, launch my business, launch the website, let everybody know I have a website." And then they would stop. And it's like the energetics, right? The limiting beliefs, the friction where they're out of alignment would just get the best of them. And it would take so much longer than it needed to, because they had these limiting beliefs that were in the way. So that's a big part. So my evolution is to add in the energetics work to bring that to my clients, because they were creating plans and all that was great, but they weren't getting anywhere, weren't getting somewhere as fast. So that's one part. The other part is I talk a lot about, like I talk a lot about old maps and new maps.
Mhm.
And so we are in my community, we are really, I constantly talk to people about what's on your old map and start paying attention to that's how you used to do it. And is it really working
Mhm.
anymore? Or do you need to let that go? And we might need to have a ceremony to let that go. And then what's on the new map? And really claiming your unique design, claiming this is the way I want to do it in the future, and letting go of some of those old traditional models. And so it takes that turning up the volume on the awareness of that.
I love that.
Yeah, it's so interesting. The old map and the new map. I mean, that's a great way to think about where you were and where you're going, or where you are now versus what you used to do. So,
Yeah.
Laura, how do you personally bring joy and creativity into your business?
It's we are wired, right, to look for what's going wrong, what's a threat, right? That's how we're naturally wired. And our culture has was wired that way as well, right? The whole negative bias. And so it takes practice, right? Even though I am naturally pretty positive and naturally pretty creative, but people will say that to me. They'll be like, "Oh, Laura, of course you're joyful business. You're so naturally creative and positive." And I'm like, "Oh, you don't understand. Like, my mom was queen worrier, not warrior, worrier, right? And I learned anxiety from the best of them. And so I've had to manage my own anxiety. And that's really where I started getting really clear about what are these practices that I need to do to help myself get in alignment. Because what I noticed is when I'm in anxiety, when I'm constricted, the creativity doesn't flow. My confidence sinks. My second guessing hijacks me, right?
Yep.
So, some of the things talking about what do I do for joy and creativity, one of the first things I do is I've learned to check in with my life, like kind of do a scan and have a real conversation. Like, and I call it looking for the life shocks. Like, what is going on that is hijacking me? Because you can't just jump to joy and like
Yeah.
everything has to be good. Everything has to be good all the time, right? That's
Yep.
just toxic positivity and it's going to crumble after a while, right? I'm sure you know.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I'm sure you know that. And so,
Oh, yeah.
yeah, so we look for the life shocks, and it might be a big life shock like, hey, like my wake up this last year was I went through a really big case of burnout and I changed my whole business model based on my design and I'm doing business in a different way. But it took a while. And so being really compassionate with that life shock and maybe you're going through different circumstances like a divorce or empty nest or a program didn't go the way that you thought it would go, right? And so there's grief there and some of that needs to be acknowledged and let go of. And I love doing the Ho'oponopono forgiveness prayer because that helps you move through that grief and then once you open up and let go and open up, then it's like, okay, now we can do the work on the nervous system. Now we can start doing the practices to open up to more joy.
That's beautiful, Laura. And it's very clear to me that you've done your own work on
Yeah,
yourself. Very, very clear.
it's a lot.
Yeah. Well, I can relate.
I'm sure you can.
Yeah. So, but this
That's how we
idea,
met, right?
it is. Yes. So it's really interesting to me, and I love that you're not this toxic joy person. Let's just go. You're very real. I mean, there are things that we have to deal with and work through. So
Right.
do you actually do some of that work with your clients?
Oh, I do a ton of that work with my
Okay.
clients. Yeah, I
Okay.
do. I think initially, I've had to change expectations because initially they're like, where's the plan? Where's the plan? We got to do the vision, do the plan. And I used to do that. And now we do, of course, we do vision and things like that. But then we really look at what's going to be help you be in alignment with your joy, like what is your creative brilliance and really helping people align with what are your creative gifts, what's your strengths, your passions, um, who do you love to serve, and just really like marinating in that so they really get a sense of who they are, what they want to create in the world. But then we do a lot about what brings you joy and creating things like we do, well, one of the things that I do on every call is we do joy flow sightings. And joy flow sightings are what's working, where is
Mm.
the joy flowing? And it's so often we want to start with here's all the problems. And it's like, take a moment to really acknowledge. And it might be something big like, oh, I got a contract or I got a new podcast interview, got a new client, money came in. And sometimes it's things like, I made a decision. I made a commitment. I, decided to redo my website or, you just did something where you're really stepping into your power. And that's worth acknowledging and will open up your confidence, your joy, your creativity just from that.
That's beautiful.
So abundance. Let's talk about abundance. Can you share more about that? Talk a little bit about that and how you get that for your clients or how they figure out how we get to this abundance mindset.
Yeah. It's part of, to me, it's like you have joy, it's part of, these are like the guiding principles around your business, is how do we open up your joy, open up your creativity, and really help cultivate an abundance mindset? Because when we're in scarcity, you
Mm.
know, it's like we literally, our body contracts, right? And we can feel, I mean, when you get worried, when you're in anxiety, I know I feel my heart constricts,
Mm.
right? lots of times our head comes down and our whole body just gets smaller. And same thing, our ideas get smaller, our confidence gets smaller. And so I do things with people to help open that up. And so some of the principles around that have to do with I introduce a concept called the universal abundance current. I call it the UAC, which has a kind of a fun background. If you've ever seen that movie Finding Nemo, if you remember
Yeah,
that
a long
kid
time
movie.
ago.
Yeah, years and years
Yeah.
ago, right? And father is trying to find his son, and his son, he knows he's, captured and he's in Sydney. And the father's like, there's no way that can happen. I can't go save him, right? And then who does he run into but the sea turtles, right? And the sea turtles are on the East Australian current. So I've renamed it the Universal Abundance Current. And they're like, yo, dude, whoa, come on, get on. We can get to Sydney really fast. We can get in the flow. And so I always look at that universal abundance current is that natural flow that is around us, in us, comes through us. We can tap into it. We can allow it anytime. And there's just abundance that is everywhere. And then I introduce things, like it's all in nature, right? We see it from, the acorn doesn't have to be told what to do, right? It just needs to have the right conditions to grow into that oak tree. Water has its circular pattern from the sea to the rivers, up into evaporation and back into rain again. It's like there's a natural flow of abundance um, that is all surrounding us, and it's in our own bodies. And so connecting to that universal abundance current is one of the first things that we do. Um, and then doing things like practicing how do you bring in a generosity of spirit into your business that helps you again open up to the mindset of if I'm generous and come from a collaborative mindset that's going to open up the
Mm.
abundance. And then
Oh,
we do like somatic things, so we do somatic things to open you back up, take up more space. Yeah.
wow, I love that.
Yeah.
It's woven through everything that I do, the joy, the
Yeah.
creativity, the
Oh,
abundance, intuition.
so this is a sort of a similar theme that kind of relates to this. And this is like, I've seen you talk about on your website, co-creating with the universe. So
Mhm.
can you talk a little bit about that? Because I think a lot of us sort of feel like we have to do this on our own, but it's a partnership, a co-creation. And I'd love to hear your perspective on that with your coaching,
Yeah.
what you do.
Yeah, I believe that we're co-creating with the universe all the time. It's just like tapping into the universal abundance current. When we tap into the UAC, it's more than just us creating. What do I do today? 1 + 1 = 2. And we've all had those experiences where 1 + 1 = 9 or 11 or 52 or something amazing, right? And there's something, and so I believe there's something else that is co-creating with us. So first of all, we're co-creating with ourselves, but we're also co-creating with everybody who's out there in the world. Me
Mhm.
wanting to be a guest on podcast and you having a new podcast, like we're co-creating that together. But then there's that like wind beneath our wings experience that happens, the synchronicities, the God winks that happen, where I feel like the universe is supporting us. And so I do practices with my clients where we dialogue with the universe. We open up, I do Akashic records and Akashic healing. And so we will open up the Akashic records for your business. And it's like, all right, what does the business want to say to us? Because I believe business has a consciousness and your projects have a consciousness. And so let's talk to it and see what wants to happen, what wants to be birthed, that it's not all you just having to make this happen by
Mhm.
doing, right? There's so much more available to us in our creative process. Does that make sense?
I love that. Yes. Like talking to Laura makes me want to be an entrepreneur. We are one, but now I really want to be one.
And that, you know what, that is huge, right? Because it's like you want to
Yes.
be an entrepreneur and then you get in there and then you're like, oh my gosh, this is harder than I thought, or
Yeah.
I feel alone, or
Yeah.
I didn't have
Yeah.
that corporate identity. And now, so yeah, we have to have to me, things are not just, I think when I first started, it was like, oh, I'd rather do business based on joy and creativity. Now I feel like it's essential because life is too hard, right?
Mhm.
It's too hard.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
There's a saying that I've been saying it for a long time. Don't let anybody steal your joy.
Yes. Yes.
And
Yeah.
it makes so much sense and means so much more to me now.
Oh, yeah.
Just doing the work we're doing and for the last few
Yeah.
years. But yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. But the thing is, right now, we're in such a huge disruption in our world that as I'm teaching, like I was just teaching a class in Mexico about abundance and joy and having a more creative, inspired life. And people are like scared to be in their joy. They feel kind of
Mhm.
guilty being in joy. And so it is a real practice to bring that joy out and give yourself permission,
Yeah.
and to not let somebody steal it. Right. Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, that's so good. I'm glad you brought that up.
Okay.
Yeah. So let's switch tracks just a little bit. Quantum human design. You're a quantum human design specialist, and
That's my
I've
latest passion.
I love that. So we want to talk about that a little bit. I have done some studying in it and I'm familiar with it, but I've never thought of it as far as incorporating it in your business and really understanding your design for how you do business. And so I would love to hear you talk a little bit about it. And I'm sure there's some people who don't know anything about human design, quantum human design. So if you could share a little bit about that and how you incorporate that with your clients and personally.
Yeah, sure. Human design has been around for a long time, and I learned about it about 15 years ago. And it is basically, um, it's like this energetic blueprint, and it combines, it's like an energetic blueprint that you were born with. And so it combines all sorts of modalities from the chakras to astrology, parts of the Kabbalah, the I Ching, and this man like got this download and created this amazing system. And so you start understanding what your design is. And I had, like I said, I did it a number of years ago. And then now I've been working with Dr. Karen Curry Parker, and she has created this quantum version of it. And I guess she worked with the original creator, Ra, of this work. And he always had the intention that human design is like, here's the design that you were born with for how the energy works for you to rest, to work, to play, to create. But there was always going to be this expanded version of when you're more aligned and awakened. And that's where the quantum human design. So he passed away. Karen really created this more expanded version. So, and that's where I just get so excited when you are really in alignment with your design and you get rid of all that friction that we were talking about and you become more aligned, more awakened. It's like you're stepping into the potential of what your design has to offer. And what I also love about it is, in regards to work, like I have spent, quite honestly, I have spent hundreds of thousands of dollars over 25 years, maybe you guys have too, working with business coaches who really were good at what they did, right? But there was no room for what your design is and if you're different. And I always felt like I was wrong. I was surrounded by all these generators who are like madly working and manifesting generators. And I tried to pretend I was a manifesting generator for 25 years, I think. That's why I went through my latest burnout and trying to launch, and do all these kinds of blueprints and formulas that were really designed for other people. And so I found my natural way of like, oh, just, there's nothing wrong with me. It's just how I'm designed. And so now I've shifted my business to better fit my design. And I've been bringing it into all my clients, and they are just feeling so validated, right? That it's like, oh, as a manifesting, because I work with a lot of many gens, and they get a lot of, you guys said you were, and it's like you get a lot of ideas and follow a lot of tracks, and they kind of zigzag their way to success and to creation. But maybe, a lot of my clients have gotten the messages that they didn't stay with something for too long, or they have all these ideas and they're scattered, and somebody else can't really understand that. And so it's really changed the way I don't know that it's changed the way that I do business, because I've always been about your authentic marketing
Mhm.
style. But now this gives a framework for it so people can better understand it. And it really has just been pretty extraordinary.
Yeah.
I love that. Could you explain, maybe we're getting too technical right now, but depending on what your design is how you're supposed to respond, or react to life or make decisions. Can you talk about that a little bit?
Yeah, sure. Um, there's 5 different archetypes that are in human design. and called a manifesting generator. And manifesting generators and manifesting generators have the chakra center, the sacral center is defined. And so that means that you have this natural access to life force energy. You're actually here and designed to create, to move forward. And so that comes into decision making in the way that you might think that you're just supposed to be going, 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 instead of knowing that you need to pause for a moment, and it's okay to pause.
What?
And
We're supposed to pause?
and you can get really frustrated when you pause, right?
Yeah.
That's usually a telltale sign is frustration and anger for a manifesting generator. And but what, there's an amazing process I do with my manifesting generators called the sacral session, where you really, through sound, get into alignment with your sacral center and you have access to your truth. And it's really fast. And I've had clients who were just like, what just happened? Oh my God. And they spit out things like, of course, I don't want to do a podcast right now because I want to finish my book. And they've been going in circles about it for a while, and they were able to access their truth immediately. So about 70% of the population is generator, manifesting generator. And then the other types, and I'm one of the other types of projector, we have a different strategy for that. And so we actually projectors sit back and wait for recognition. First of all, we have to recognize ourselves and show up. And then we watch for people who recognize us. Like you saying, would you like to be on my podcast? That's a form of recognition. And it's like, yes, absolutely, 100%, right? So that's just an example without going into a ton of detail.
Yeah.
But it's really profound when you start living into your design, like how you get into flow.
It sounds incredibly profound.
Yeah.
And I love what you're doing, Laura. That's amazing.
I love it. Thank you. So glad.
So many of us, I mean, you, me, I'm sure, struggle with self-doubt and or visibility at some point or another. And it can become a major
No idea
roadblock.
what you're talking about.
So, okay, how do you guide your clients to show up with more confidence and authenticity in the business? How do you maneuver that one?
Yeah, yeah. It kind of goes back to what I was saying before, having been in so many programs
Yeah.
that it's like they just think if they push you harder or if you leap, the net will come. And like, I can't tell you how many programs I've been in and gone on these retreats. And then I'm back on the airplane flying home and I'm like, what the heck did I just commit to? And my nervous system gets hijacked, right? So there's a fine line between, how do you do that dance between, you do have to go past your comfort level to show up confidently with what you want to create in the world. But how do you do it without hijacking your nervous system? And so that's where I've been fascinated and have really focused a lot of work, especially for highly attuned entrepreneurs, because we are so sensitive and intuitive and empathic. And so we can get easily hijacked by energy and thoughts and beliefs. So first of all, I work to validate it. Like it's just normal. Every single client I've worked with, thousands of them over the years, everybody has their level that they get in. And it doesn't matter how successful you are. You have, they always say new level, new devil. It's kind of that kind of thing. It's like, oh, you might become, you might have had that struggle when you were just coaching, but then you started coaching people and you developed your confidence. And then now it's moved on to being more visible in your marketing and creating a stand for a message for what it is that you believe in. So that's really why I brought in what I call wisdom energetics. I brought in the Akashic healing, the trauma tapping. I do a ton of tapping on where's the friction? What is the belief that's getting in the way of allowing yourself to make more money or charging higher prices or being willing to be seen? I did a session a couple of weeks ago with a group and we tapped on asking for testimonials, right? And it's like they all had kind of this like, oh, but I don't want to brag and I don't want to put my clients out and all these stories they created. And so we tapped on that friction that comes up around asking for testimonials. And then the next week we were meeting and two people had said, oh, you know what? I just went ahead and asked for those testimonials and totally forgot that I was delaying it or procrastinating, right? I mean, it's really pretty amazing. But to me, we need tools like that because
Mm,
we can't just push ourselves,
Yeah.
into it. Yeah. And
and
then the quantum human design comes in as well, because it's like
yeah,
once you know your design, then it's like huge permission to do it your way.
Love that.
yep.
Do you have a question?
No, I would just we familiar with the tapping and the Akashic, and I mean all those things are
These are
amazing.
people.
Yeah,
We
been
are.
there,
It's no wonder we're here.
done
Exactly.
this, and 100% on board for all of it. Tapping, especially, is when you're tapping on those meridians. I mean,
Yeah.
it's really it can be life changing.
Yeah,
It
I love
can.
I jumped on a course the other day because like I always like to do research on the people that we're gonna have on our podcast, and I just got all into your stuff, Laura. And I'm like, wow, this is awesome. And
I
you did some
love that.
tapping on a Wednesday course. So, all right, so let's how are we doing here? So I did want to just one last topic is just to cover intuition a little bit because I know that you do work with your clients on really tapping into their intuition. And do you have any thoughts around that you want to share?
Yeah, I have a lot of thoughts about that. So, when you were talking about, you were asking about what's changing and how do I evolve my business. And when I practice that deep listening, what I'm hearing consistently is that my clients want to know how to tap more into their intuition. It is fast becoming the number one essential skill for leaders, I mean, just in our lives, because we can't tell what's fake or not anymore, right? We can't tell externally where the truth is. And so it's coming back to us to rely on our inner truth and to tap into our guidance and wisdom and know what that truth is and be able to trust that. And so to me, intuition has quickly risen to one of the number one skills that we need and especially in our business as entrepreneurs. The economy and the world and the future feels a little murky right now. And it used to be we'd have plans all figured out. And there's so much happening so fast that it's hard to know where to go. And so I
Mhm.
find that we're doing moment by moment, accessing our intuition. And I think about it like crossing a pond and you can't see your way across. And so you just step on one lily pad and then the next one rises up. And then you're like, okay, now we go on that lily pad. And that's part of the intuitive process of being able to trust yourself enough and trust that you're not alone, that you have, this wisdom team that's going to help support you and guide you.
Beautiful,
Amazing.
beautiful.
Well,
We're all supposed to be friends, right?
Yeah,
uh,
absolutely.
Laura, this has been a great joy.
Joy.
Joy,
Yeah.
no
It
pun
was really
intended.
fun connecting with you today. It's just awesome.
Yeah, we're going to share the links below with everyone, but please share with the audience maybe some of the best ways to get connected with you and your work.
Yeah, we also want you to talk about Whispers and Wave,
Yes,
a program you have coming up.
right.
Sure. Well, one of the best ways to find out more about me is to go to my website at joyfulbusiness.com. You can certainly follow me on social media. I'm on Facebook and LinkedIn primarily. Any day now, I'm going to start my Substack. It's there, but I haven't quite got there yet. And Whisper and Waves is it's a new program that I've created because all my clients are like, please help me with my intuition and help me with this skill. And so we start September 30th, and you can go, we'll put the link below. You can go there, but it's a 6-week program, pretty affordable, but we're going to be practicing, playing, really opening up and getting clear about what's your unique way to receive intuition and opening up your ability to receive intuition. So we're going to bring in the wisdom energetics, the Akashic records, the tapping and things like that to help open up so that you're more available for that. So it's going to be really good. I can't wait.
Yeah, it sounds very exciting.
I'll let you in on a little secret. I signed up for it.
Yay!
Come join us.
Yeah.
Yeah, so we'll have all the information down below in the links. And of course, you could reach out to me if you have any questions on
Yeah.
connecting with Laura.
Okay, Laura, thank you so much for being here and sharing your wisdom and all the things that you have. You have so much to offer. So we just really appreciate you and thank you so much for being here.
Thank you so much. I so appreciate it. I love it when, like-spirited people come together and find each other, and it's just, we have this
Yeah.
easy conversation, so it's beautiful. Thank you
It's
for having me.
amazing. Do you have any last minute words you want to share with the audience? Anything coming to mind intuitively?
The one thing that's coming to mind thinking about this earlier is, the world does feel so uncertain right
Mm,
now, we'll put it that way. And that to remember that you're not alone, I think
mhm.
that's something that is really hard, especially entrepreneurs, but I think for anybody. And so finding your community, I think is essential right now, that people that you can lean into and be real with. And
Yeah.
especially if you're approaching your business with joy, intuition, creativity, that hasn't been the norm, right? So you need to have a community that looks at things like that. That's not a traditional way, that they're looking for new map kind of places. So community, I think, is huge.
Beautiful.
100% agree with that.
Absolutely.
Yeah, amazing. Thank you so much.
Okay, Laura, thank you so much, and we'll see you soon.
Yes, we will.
Bye-bye.